Replenish me. When I say that, what comes up for you? And when's the last time that you've done that? And where do you feel that in your body? Well, this is my invitation to you to explore the 4 steps of my Replenish Me program, where women learn how to release, restructure, refresh, and rebirth, showing up in the world, being true to yourself, only choosing words that honor your values, and only allowing behaviors and people in your life who do the same. Connect with me by reaching out at bit.ly/replenish with love and explore Replenish Me. And now for tonight's show. Hello and welcome to the Free to Be show. I'm so excited to introduce you once again to Rose Bennett. And as you know from a previous episode where I've had her on, she's the author of Healing Magic, a Green Witch Guidebook to Conscious Living, and she's also the author of The Gift of Healing Herbs, Plant Medicines, and Home Remedies for a Vibrantly Healthy Life. And I wanted to just have her on all to myself so that we could learn more about how plant medicines and connecting with nature can really enhance our lives on more levels than are so obvious to us today. So welcome to the show again.
Thank you. It's good to be here with you.
My pleasure. So share with me what comes up for you first and foremost when I say connecting with plant medicines, like the importance to us right now in this time that we're going through with the COVID-19.
Okay. And, and even before we were going through COVID-19 and after we're going to be, that's going to have passed. And the next great challenge will come along. We've been in a time of such escalating challenge, right? And such a call to awakening from the planet so that, right now, Cordelia, when people say, do you think we'll ever get back to normal? I say, no, I hope not, because what was passing for normal was not okay. It was this degrading lack of care for everything, for everything around us, and essentially being self-destructive and acting as if because a certain layer of the population of people, the haves, right, could blindfold themselves and put blinders on and think that they were okay and everything was okay, but everything was not okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it's such, nature is our teacher. I know you know this.
Yeah.
And for people listening, for you who are listening, the voice of nature is speaking the voice of love, the voice of calling us to our hearts. Because when we move into that heart space where we are connected with the larger field of everything that's around us. And so when I don't mean to be cavalier about the pain and destruction that's happening now in any way, shape, or form. What I do mean though is normal is not going to make it. We need to listen and respond. And so I find an enormous gift in the simple act of, in being able to tell people that they can walk outside and with an open heart, you will, if you be quiet and take your, things out of your ears and so forth, right? Or you're not on your phone, you will be able to hear the voice of the plants, of the trees, maybe not all at once, right? But even thinking about it this way, like a fellow herbalist and I had read a lovely post he made about onion grass, right? And I remarked on it and said, yes, onion grass, so helpful for this, that, the other thing. But what I added to my post was, and don't just take it, right? Remember to ask permission. Remember
Mm.
to receive it with gratitude. This plant is giving you its body for your body, right? Its life for your life. And so this is the part of connecting with nature. Like the other thing is that there is every answer we need is already here. And by looking outside of nature, we're missing it. It is through the, in science, it's called biomimicry, right? That aspect of science. It says, let's look at how nature so brilliantly works to support living ecosystems, and let's mimic that with our technology. That's the kind of example of the ways we need to go. And then on the everyday basis for all of us, it is seeing the sunshine in a dandelion flower.
Yeah,
It changes your perspective of life. And when you change your perspective of life, your life changes, you know?
I agree.
Yeah.
That is a really beautiful reflection of exactly what's happening right now. Like on so many levels, I see when you're talking about, love and not making light, I think that the stillness, right? We're actually being forced to stillness so that we can finally see the forest and the trees, right?
Yeah.
See the individual blades of grass, and we can smell them because we don't have to use pollution right now.
Right. It's so the thing that what you're saying and what I'm also saying is that this is there are blessings in the disaster, as there are blessings in all disasters. And talk to anyone who has been through and come out the other side of major illness, and they will 9 times out of 10, if not more, tell you vital things that they received from this for their lives moving forward that they apparently wouldn't get any other way. So none of us is going to ask to get, a raging virus moving through the world, or a life-threatening illness. It's not the level on which we create reality. But we have the option of how to respond to what's happening. And one thing I read that I loved, that I want to develop more as well, is that this is either a hole we're going to fall into, or it's a portal that we need to cross through. And I think that any of us who can see this need to really do whatever is ours to do, whether it's simply with our children, or it's our neighbors, or it's our audience, or what have you, to help people see that this is a portal to cross through, to shift how we do things, and where we practice self-care. Like, think about how typically everybody's running from one thing to another to another. Now they're saying like, oh, wait, I don't have to run anywhere. What should I do?
Yeah. I would really like to like focus most of our conversation. Let's really dive deeper, more into what can we do for self-care, because I feel like when we're busy all the time, we're always told to do self-care. And then we have this ideal of what that is and what that looks like. And right, it's supposed to be a spa day, but oops, wait a minute, we can't touch each other. So let's really, in this conversation, thank you for bringing that up. I think in the core, let's really look at what self-care truly is. So we'll
Yeah,
be right back with that. Thank you.
thank you.
All right, so we're back. So, Robin, just help us out. What is a true spa day?
Well, it's so funny you say this because I think it was last week, I was home and I just decided, my hands are dry from all the hand washing, my skin is dry. I'm going to do a facial. And so I did a really simple facial. So, like, if you had no herbs at home, I did like kind of all the steps of it. And it felt so good. I did a steam, right? And I had roses, dried roses, so I put some dried roses in there. And then I did a scrub, and I love, this is my favorite scrub, and it's so easy to just grind up rolled oats. Just grind up rolled oats
Wow.
to whatever texture you like, either very fine if your skin is really sensitive, or maybe like a little bit of abrasiveness available. And if you're really a smell person, you want to put a tiny bit of lavender in, go for it. Not oil, the actual flowers, but plain oats is so great for your skin. And then you can do a mask. I want to focus this on things people will have at home already. Um, just honey. Pull your hair back, make your face dry, and put honey everywhere. And honey is one of the few substances you can even put under your eyes. It will help with that.
I didn't
It's
know
gentle
that.
enough for that soft tissue. And then when that dries, rinse it off with warm water. And a lot of people might have, say, witch hazel from the drugstore. Use that as your tonic, unless you have some special thing at home already that you love to use. But witch hazel is fantastic. It tightens capillaries, tones skin. And then massage in your favorite moisturizing cream, right? Facial cream. And, I just kind of had these moments while doing this of feeling the irony of don't touch your face, don't touch your face. And here I am, like, giving myself the most healing by touching my face. Um, and that's simple. And, and then of course, when you look, like when your skin is glowing, right, you feel a little more uplifted. So it just was a wonderful, simple thing that anybody can do.
Wow. And yeah, I do. I have rolled oats and I don't have dry rose, but I do have rose water. Could I use that?
I would use the rose water instead, where I use the witch hazel,
Ah, okay. All right.
right? So you do the steam, then the scrub, and even a hot water steam, will totally work. The key is, everybody, the key is that when you put the towel over your head, tighten it at your neck,
Okay.
right? So that you get a real full-on steam bath. And then if you put the towel over your pot, you can actually put your arms around it and just really rest into it and make yourself comfortable. It's very funny. That took me like a million hours to figure out how to put that into words, describing it in The Gift of Healing Herbs, how to describe, how to do a steam so that it's and the other thing, of course, is that steam is going to help open the sinuses, help your respiratory system. If somebody wants to do that steam because they're feeling concerned about their breathing,
Okay.
um, they might have thyme, dried thyme in their pantry.
Oh, okay.
Put a small handful of dried thyme. It's a brilliant remedy for the bronchia and the lungs. And added bonus, thyme is super calming.
Okay.
For calming. I use it sometimes when someone literally is hysterical. It's sometimes that person is me. Um, Not too often. I meditate regularly, highly recommended. But yeah, thyme is really fantastic. So that's just and that would be fine for your skin, but it's exceptionally good for your lungs and your bronchia. And it's antiseptic as well. So it's anti-infective is what that means. And the calming is not just emotional, it also calms tightness in the chest. So whether that's bronchial spasms from bronchitis or asthma, right? That's a regular thing that people can do that can be really helpful.
I like that, and I like the point that a lot of times when we're told to do steams, where it's recommended to use eucalyptus, right?
Mhm.
And then the other thing for calming, we're always recommended to do lavender. So tell us the difference between eucalyptus and thyme and lavender and thyme.
Okay. Well, the first thing I want to say is that when you have a choice, use the herbs, not the essential oils.
Okay.
Okay. The essential oils are actually drying to the mucous membranes, and that doesn't really help your overall respiratory health, especially over time. Not THYME. Now I'm talking about over time, right?
Nice. Yeah.
So eucalyptus is cooling. Thyme is more neutral. So it will work if you need to be cooled or warmed, which is just a kind of a great extra gift about that the thyme offers. And eucalyptus is, it's not, now we may have people listening to us anywhere in the world. So of course there might be places like maybe someone's listening in Los Angeles where eucalyptus is a street tree, right? It's a wild weed, or Australia or what have you. Where I am, eucalyptus is not native, right? Whereas thyme is growing in all the gardens and escapes the gardens. So it's generally less expensive, generally more easily available. But again, eucalyptus will be more for cooling down hot inflammation in the lungs. And thyme has more multi-level gifts, I think, for us. Lavender, as far as I'm concerned, you can almost never go wrong. Uh,
Okay.
lavender flowers, they're beautifying, they're calming, they help sleep, they help the skin. So, it's not like there's only one right thing you can use. I was just sharing, a couple of options. People who know their wild plants are at a great advantage right now,
Yeah.
or at any time. So that's one thing I encourage, is everybody learn some of your neighborhood green allies, because you can eat them, you can make medicine with them, but also, like in this conversation, we could take some of the nettles that are coming up out of the ground in spring, dry them, and use that in a steam, which is going to help all the circulation in the skin, and that's going to go deep down into the lungs for lung healing. So, you know, so
What I
that's
like,
just another tip. But I'd like to. Oh, go ahead.
no, I was just remarking at, I asked you, like, what is true self-care? And we're like totally talking about plants, right? We
Eh,
don't, like most human beings, we don't default to that. We always think we have to go somewhere for someone to do something to us or for us.
Right, right, right.
Yeah. That's what I'm loving.
Thank you. Yes, it's been so long, since I was originally an herbal student, and that's just in this life. But that I don't even reckon anymore how unusual that is. So, let's even go back a second and say self-care starts with caring about yourself, right? Because so often self-care becomes for people one more way to beat themselves up that they're not doing it, going back to what you said, right? Not doing it right, or not doing it long enough or often enough or perfectly enough. And we harm ourselves in this way. So the first thing is to do it because we actually care about ourselves, not because we should do that. And then, even a busy mom, right, like yourself, um, often I'll hear, I don't have time for that. I have my kids. So then I'm like, what are you modeling? Because children learn what they see, not what you say, right?
Right. That's, oh boy, do I know that.
Yeah, yeah, they'll reflect. But so let's think about, almost as if, even though the world is our elder, the plants evolutionarily have been alive much longer than human beings. But let's even imagine for a moment that they were our children, that they are all of our children, and they are believing what we do, not what we say. And they're really calling us to stand up for them, because the earth will be fine. No matter what degrees of heartbreaking harm we inflict upon our beloved forests and rivers and oceans and birds and animals, and we could just sit here and cry for the next, hour together and not say anything, and everybody'd get it. But no matter all these things, the earth will be fine. She has survived, and she will survive. The people in question are the peoples of Earth, the four-leggeds, the two-leggeds, the wingeds, all the peoples of Earth. And so as we move into this quiet, enforced stillness, we have to band together to decide what we're going to do about this and for life. That's what will make it a portal. And you see it. You see acts of beauty going on that we're seeing through the net everywhere, in addition to the not unexpected acts of fear and panic and, blaming and all of that. So we have to choose. We get to choose. We don't have to anything, but we get to choose. And sometimes self-care, at least for me, but I know it's more than just me, is walk outside, take a breath of air. And as you said, the air that you're breathing is cleaner right now because the cars aren't whizzing by it at nearly the pace of normal, right?
Yeah, normal.
Normal.
I
Uh,
love that.
yeah, I like to burn herbs as
Oh,
well. And I will mention that the deeper you forge your connection with the earth, um, the more guidance you can really receive. And so, feeling at a loss, I went to stand with a very old oak tree that lives near here. And I just put my back to the tree and I breathe. And this is what I recommend to you, anyone, is just share your breath with the plant or tree. Trees are easier. They're more kind of look like us and they seem like us, except they have roots and we don't. So they never question if they're in the right place, as we do. But they like our freedom, right? So the point is anybody can kind of just go and exhale and consciously give your breath to a tree that you love and inhale and know that you're receiving your breath from that tree. And this is not only a spiritual exercise in connecting that really helps strengthen your core and your heart, but it also is based in reality, in physical reality, because literally the tree's inhaling what you exhale, and you are inhaling because that tree is exhaling oxygen. So I'm not talking about, and I know you're not either, anything that is spiritual that isn't embodied in nature as well, right? Because that's my mirror of truth. If I have a spiritual concept, I look to see how is this played out in nature. And if it isn't, then I'm going to very seriously question whether this is a truth or not. So back to my oak tree. So I went and I put my back to the oak tree and I asked for any message that I could hear. And I do believe that anybody who was with that tree would get their own message, not that there was one message. What I heard was two things, and it took a while because my mind was a swirl, right? The first thing I heard was, this is a test. This is a test. And that could feel really scary, except for that I have learned that life does not give us tests that we can't pass, right? We may have tests in school that we don't pass, but the big test, the life test, we're never given a test we cannot pass. We're given a test because we can. And it's asking us to rise to the challenge. So that was the first thing I heard. And, um, I'll just stop there on that thought. There's a lot more we could say about this concept. But the second thing was very practical. And it said, smudge more. Smudge more.
wow.
For anyone who doesn't know, smudging is when you take dried herbs and you put them in some form of fireproof container. This is a beautiful abalone shell. And I put some white sage into it, but we can really burn any number of plants for clearing space, for clearing energy, for clearing vibration. So I'm lighting a little bit of white sage. You can put the sage like through your chakras, your energy centers. You can waft the smoke all around your body. You can go to the corners of your room, or just circle all around your house or your apartment or your bedroom if you're having trouble sleeping. The physical effects are notable. They're noticeable. The thing, and we've discussed this, Cordelia, that I love and you love about plant medicine is that you don't sort of think, is it working or not? You can feel the
Yeah.
difference. It's like when you've done the facial, your skin feels and looks different. So I highly recommend, as this beautiful 200-year-old oak tree recommended to me, to burn some herbs for clearing. Do you have a favorite that you use?
Um, Herbs, I actually I haven't in a while. That's why when you said that, I was like, wow. And this is like, I'm trying to remember the last time I did, like
Ah,
in my house.
mhm.
And it's really been years. I don't think like my youngest has ever experienced that. That's how long it's been. She's going to be 6.
Kids love smudge. I remember a student of mine giving a talk in a city high school, and there were like 250 really excited elementary school kids, and they were making a super racket. And she lit one sage leaf,
Yeah.
just one, and just held it at the from the stage. And of course, part of it was probably like, what's she doing?
Right.
But the smoke, the
Yeah.
scent, I mean, they just, like she said, she watched the ripple of quiet move through the room. So the herb spring can bring peace. In Healing Magic, the first book I wrote,
Mhm.
I have a chapter on different properties of different herbs. What burning rosemary will help with, what burning lavender will help with. But you can always play too, and as long as it's dry, you can light it and see what feelings open up for you.
I know for me, what I've done in the past, and like I said again, gosh, I can't believe it. I haven't done it in years. But I had, the frankincense and myrrh stones
Mm-hmm.
with the charcoal.
Charcoal. Yeah,
Yeah.
charcoal.
So I used to burn that like every morning.
Ah, beautiful.
And um, I guess it just ran out and I just never replaced it. And as you're mentioning this, I really do miss it. It got to the point where my oldest, um, who would have been a teenager back then, yeah, she would just go ahead and set it up. And then they would do their studies, because I homeschool, and she was always like, Mom, this just helps me to like, you know, you
Uh,
know?
yeah, yeah. It clears the mind. It helps us become present. And you mentioned like frankincense and myrrh, and those little stones are tree resin, right? Hardened, dried tree resins. So we can also do that with our pines. We can
That's
gather
right,
pine
pine needles,
resin.
yeah.
And the thing about this is they're also antiseptic,
Mm,
right? So we are actually bringing respiratory medicine into the atmosphere when we do this. So I know people think smoke, but smoke is a very old form of medicine, and it's one of the first things I turn to in an acute asthma attack.
wow,
Yes,
okay.
is holding smoke. My favorite herb to use for that is mullein, mullein,
Right.
mullein leaf, which is, by the way, is one that I am certainly suggesting to people to make full, strong infusions of now,
Yeah.
because it's moistening and soothing and antibacterial and antiseptic for the lungs and bronchia. But yeah, in an asthma attack, right? So, in other words, chronic, if we're treating, or well, herbalists don't treat people, we help clients. Um, if we're helping someone with asthma, right, they might, for example, drink mullein infusion regularly. Tincture works as well. It's just my preference is the
Yeah.
water-based medicine. Oh, for anybody who doesn't know, I'm sorry, these terms, right? Tincture is an alcohol-based preparation that comes in those little dropper bottles. and that's good for travel, and it's good for some herbs only really work well in alcohol. But in my first choice, I would use mullein, dried mullein leaves in boiling water. And so what I was saying was, so if you're taking care of helping yourself through a long-term condition, a chronic thing, then you're going to be drinking the herb regularly. And I've literally seen people work off lifetimes of inhalers with plant
Wow.
medicine. Um, so when I mentioned the smoke, and I said that was for an acute situation. So someone is beginning to have trouble breathing. A girl once came into my house for a class, and I have cats. And so she is super allergic to cats, and she began to tighten up. And she was a person who had bad enough asthma that she always carried an EpiPen with her, or bad enough allergies that she always had her EpiPen with her. But I greeted her. I put mullein, I lit it, and I held it under her nose. And the students actually gasped, like, "Are you trying to kill her? She can't breathe, and you're holding smoke to her nose."
Right.
But she got her breath back. She
Yeah.
did not leave the class. She didn't go to the house. She sat there. She said, "I have never been able to sit in a room with cats like for the last 20 years." So
Wow.
it was quite remarkable. And so that's an adjunct treatment. That's not the primary. I just want people to understand. And there's something else I wanted to tell you about that story. Let's see if it's right playing at the edge of my mind. Um, we'll let it go. I don't know what it was. So
I want to just dive in because you did bring up the thing about definitions. I get lost when we talk, so let's just take a minute and talk about the different definitions, right? So, what is an infusion versus just drinking dry leaf tea, right? So, if I were to take like some tea leaves and just drink a cup of tea that I steep for like 10 minutes, what's the difference between that and an infusion, and how does one work in the body versus the other?
okay. Well, the simplest way that I have to say the difference is that the 10-minute tea, let's pick a tea. Let's say, again, I'm going to do things that are in people's pantry already just because I want to. So let's say we talked about basil. Okay, I love basil, and it doesn't have to be Tulsi. Tulsi's awesome. I grow it in my garden, right? But I also grow Genovese basil and lime basil and lemon basil because all the basils have amazing gifts for us. So if I take dried basil and I make a 10-minute tea, I'm going to get some of the medicinal antioxidant properties out of it. Some of the it's sort of a broad spectrum antimicrobial, which means that it's a plant that's appropriate in fungal infections, bacterial infections, viral infections, such as a cold or a flu. Um, but if I take that basil and I use more of it and I steep it for longer, I'm making a more medicinal strength infusion. The thing is, always just do the best you can with what you have. Okay, but or in the case of something like for the last couple of days, I've been drinking a good amount of red clover, and I have a little video. I have videos of working with one plant at a time on my YouTube channel under my name, so people can also look there. But I just put a little video up of making red clover infusion. It's 30 seconds long. And I show that, so here's why I'm drinking it is because red clover blossoms, which a lot of people like picked the petals as kids and just put them in their mouths until your mother came out and told you to stop that, unless you knew better. Um, the red clover, if we want to get medicine from it fresh, the best way to do that is to eat it like in salads or in anything you want. But when we dry it, if I put a teaspoon in a cup, I'm going to get some calming effects. I'm going to get a little soothing for my chest if I have a dry cough. But if I make it the way that a full strength infusion would be made, which is approximately 2 cups of dried herb into that quart, and then we pour boiling water over the herbs, sorry, and fill the quart jar up to the tippy top, and then cap it. Then I let it sit for overnight, so approximately 8 hours. Then I pour that off, and let me put my tea down because I need my hands to show you. I squeeze out the herbs after I've poured it off through a strainer, squeeze out the herbs, and then you can reheat that infusion and put it in a thermos to drink throughout the day, or put it in the fridge because it's high in protein and it will spoil if you just leave it out. So the difference is in drinking that full strength infusion rather than a cup of tea, I am getting protective medicine against cancer. I am getting full help for stabilizing the mind through the nourishment of the central nervous system in a way that nourishes. It's been shown to nourish the neurotransmitters in the brain, the dopamine and the serotonin and the things that keep us happier. Right. We also can increase serotonin by putting our hands without gloves into the soil.
Wow, that's so easy.
I know. And oh, it's so well priced, right?
I know.
Right? So, but the difference with infusion is that it will really shift your health more, especially used over time. So red clover is a wonderful lymph supportive herb, and we want to keep that lymph fluid like flowing right throughout our bodies because that's the part of the immune system that creates the anti-infective kind of cells that work. We're naturally oriented to fend off pathogens. I mean, this is another thing with the panic of today.
Yeah.
Is we are naturally designed to fend off pathogens. And what we need to do is support that, right? And we know that there's certain things about this particular flu that are proving really tricky and devastating to a small percentage of the people who get it. And that is of deep concern. And it's shown us the complete inadequacy of our healthcare system and the inequality of it and all of that. And the reality is that for the vast majority of people, this is a flu.
Yeah.
And we have innate, protective mechanisms throughout our system. So to fend off and heal from the flu. So back to the red clover infusion for a moment. The other thing is red clover naturally balances acid and alkaline levels in the body, and we're supposed to be more acid on the outside, more alkaline on the inside, right? And so again, I'm not going to get all that from a tea bag of red clover. It's still, if that's the best I can get, you better believe I'm going to drink that.
Right.
But if I have the option, I can go out in the lawn and pick and dry it, or I can go to the herb shop, or maybe right now we can't do that, but we can order online. Herbs are sort of the unsung hero right now because some of the herb suppliers have had to close themselves to orders. People are really turning to herbs, and there's not yet a lot of public reporting of how much herbs have helped in China, where they are using herbs in conjunction of conventional medicine. We're not hearing a lot about that, but we will. This is going to come out. But among herbalists, we're having a lot of intense conversations about what to do. So red clover full strength infusion, red clover tea is a lovely beverage that will afford you a little bit of calming, a little bit of nourishment. I mean, you're certainly going to get the minerals out of it, the calcium, but you'll get much more out of the infusion.
Yeah, thank you for going into great detail with that because that's super important. And I love the way you really explained like the benefits and the different conditions that we are really allowing our body to correct with the full-blown infusion. I also want to just put in a disclaimer here because sadly around the world people are using pesticides in their own yards. So you can pick these herbs in your yard as long as you're not spraying regularly. Okay. So, like in the past season, if you've put Roundup or some kind of pesticide on your grass, do not pick your red clovers. Don't, if they grow. However,
However, stop doing that.
yes. And then there's that.
Stop
Just don't do
stop poisoning your medicine. And that's really not a disclaimer, what you said. That's a vitally important educational statement, right? So, when people ask me about the parks, I say also go to the parks department, tell them you do not want this. Public opinion still does matter, especially at local levels, right? We may not be seeing too much of an effect at the higher levels, or higher doesn't seem like the right word right now, but you know what I mean.
Broader levels.
Thank you. Yes, yes. But at the local level, it definitely makes a difference. So yes, what Cordelia said is very important. And, don't steal them from your neighbors either.
Oh, yeah.
But ask them. They're often so happy to have you take out their weeds. Right. And the other thing about red clover, which I'll say, and then we can apply this in the broader sense too, is red clover is a superb nervous system nourisher.
Yeah.
And anything and everything we can do to strengthen our nervous systems right now is as important as helping immunity and respiratory, as important, because when your nervous system is frenzied, or feeling weak, and everybody right now, maybe hopefully not in the time that people are watching this, but in the time that we're speaking to each other, people are on overload in a big way. It's so important to come back to center, walking outside, feeling your feet on the earth, or putting your hands in soil, or drinking a cup of red clover, or giving yourself a facial or a foot bath. Simple things to calm your nervous system, because we need to be resilient in this time, right? It's so easy to crash.
Yeah.
And I don't think that we need to be out all the time. I think we need to be like the moon, waxing and waning, and have our times to really regroup, or scream, or cry, or be mad, whatever, all of these natural responses, so that we don't repress anything, but that we can know what we want to return home to, right? To roots and centered, because that helps us know, what do we want to do? What do we want to do for our children? What do we want to do for our whales? What do we want to do for our trees, our neighbors? What do we want to do for our neighbors, right? How do we help one another? This is the spiritual portal we're at. The irony of isolating, when isolating is so much a piece of what's gone wrong, is so glaring to me. I'm not saying that people shouldn't do it, but I'm saying there's so much metaphor and symbolism here. Like I'm really looking forward to writing a piece that's coming through me, and posting it, because it just, everything about now is like this myth. We're living a myth.
Wow.
We can't just be for ourselves or our nuclear family. And does this virus not show us that how connected we all are? Like, it's showing us in the difficult way.
Yeah.
But we need to accept taking on the mantle of living that in a positive way. And we'll all be happier.
Yes.
We'll be happier. Like, people are not, not generally speaking, not too happy before this, crisis.
Right.
There's different levels, there's the not happy when you have everything, but you're still not happy. And then there's the not happy because you don't know how to feed your children, right? I mean, hello, time to wake up. And we can do it. We can definitely do it, but none of us can do it without all of us, or at least a lot of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so powerful that you said. I mean, just really leaning into this, and I think kind of to just add a little bit to what you're saying, when you're saying that a lot of us are not happy on a regular basis, I think it's because we're coming face to face with what the concept of gratitude really means, right? Whereas before, we're told to keep gratitude journals. We're told to be grateful, right? Like there's some outside force that is entitled to our gratitude. But now it's just like an inward stillness, acceptance, and like embodying of what gratitude is.
Mm. May it be so. May it be so, and may that spread.
Yes.
Seriously spread. Yeah. Yeah. We can always say thank you, right? There's always something we can say thank you.
Yeah. And I love also, going back to the story with your herbalist friend about the onion grass. So simple, right? Like we don't think about that, right? We're again told, you know, say your prayers when you're going to eat. But
Right.
like, what about when you're harvesting out of your garden? What about when you're going to the grocery store? Like, especially, I'm sure people these days, because some of the grocery stores, they're having problem getting stock, right?
Yeah.
It's like when you can find some, green onions at the store, thank you. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you. And, I had written a little poem for spring that I shared with you and those who were at the equinox ritual. But one of the verses of it was, please imagine you have magic power, no more nor less than any spring flower,
Mm.
to rise up, to hold root, to blossom and bear fruit. Choose which seeds you wish to sow, which you will nourish and which you'll let go.
Mm.
And again, there's nature, the metaphor for us, right? The flowers have enormous energy they use to break through the earth. It's not just like la-di-da, right? It takes power and real force to both grow down for the roots and grow up. So that's what's being asked of us, as I see it, is we're being asked to gather more energy to root down and rise up. And what do we stand for? What do we love enough to take care of better? And we must learn to say no. It's so, again, the metaphors right now I see, like we're all being told to stay in our houses, and I'm not saying everyone should jump up and do this. I'm saying metaphorically, though, I see it as a time where we need to be all out saying, no, this is not the time to dismantle environmental regulations. No, this isn't the time to weaken air quality controls and support greed over life and so on and so forth. So we're all being told to stay in. But I feel like even energetically or through the web or whatever, we need a massive outcry,
Mm.
of what we're for, right? This is the thing is we can't build a new way of living by knowing what we're against only. We totally need to have these conversations and create in our imaginations what we're building, right? Because that's where then physical manifestation comes from. It emanates from originally from the imagination. And I share that with anytime I have a chance to be with young people who are involved in building movements, because I'm so excited about them. And they can forget that piece.
Yeah.
The what are we imagining the best that could happen, not just the worst.
Mm. Okay, I'm gonna leave it right there. And at the next section, I want you to sum everything up for us and give us a good word to go into our day. Okay?
All right, I'll
Be
do my
right
best.
back. we're back. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much, Robin, for being here with us today. We talked about so many things, and if you could share with us the major takeaway or takeaways that we should have had from this conversation.
Okay. One would be centering yourself is always a good idea, and make the time to do that, because sometimes 3 minutes can make a world of difference in the other 23 hours and 57 minutes of your day. Secondly, do take comfort in the fact that your body is brilliantly designed to heal, and be inspired to learn about what plants and herbs have to offer your body in terms of nourishing and nurturing all of these brilliant systems that are so well designed to help you heal. And finally, so 6 things, of course, went through my mind when I said finally, so I'll try to pick one. Nature in and of herself is healing. So if nothing else, walk outside, put your feet on the ground and breathe, or breathe with a tree that you are drawn to, and it will give you surprising gifts within yourself. So this is a test, but we can pass it if we join together and have compassion for ourselves and each other, and we really open ourselves to all of the natural resources that are desiring to help us awaken.
I love the way that sounds, that everything's desiring for us to be connected to it. That's beautiful. And everyone, go to robinrosebennett.com, subscribe to her newsletter, because then you'll get like all this juiciness in your inbox on a regular basis. And even better than that, you get to see her lovely face and hear her beautiful voice when you subscribe to her YouTube channel. So please do those two things and stay connected. And Robin, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. You make like creating self-nurturing practices in connection with nature, like breathing. You make it so easy, right?
Thank
Really?
you, Cordelia.
Thank you.
And so it is. And so it is.
And so it is.
Thank you for you and all that you offer to us.
Thank you. All right. And listeners, if you received benefit in this conversation, sharing is caring. So remember that, and good night.
Green blessings.
Joining me for this episode of the Free to Be Show with me, your hostess, Cordelia Gaffar. So the purpose of the show really is to give you tools and tips to go on that journey of being free to be yourself. Anything that you enjoyed or you found beneficial, make note of it. Start implementing it. See what it actually feels like to do that. And reach out to me and let me know how you come along with that. Most importantly, if it works for you, it's going to work for somebody else. So remember, sharing is caring. Good night.